Hey, good morning, everybody. Today's Daf Yomi is Megillah Daf Lamed, Megillah 30. And today's Daf Yomi, we're going to start on the bottom of Chav Tes on the base, around 10 lines from the bottom. The Gemara says, Itmar Rosh Chodesh Teves Shachalios B'chol. Let's say you have Rosh Chodesh Teves, which is always going to coincide with Hanukkah. If it comes out during the week, it says, Amar Rav Yitzchak Karu Tlasa B'Rosh Chodesh. You read the first three aliyos. On Rosh Chodesh, we always read four aliyos. So when Rosh Chodesh Teves coincides with during the week, the first three aliyos will be from, according to Rabbi Yitzchak, the first three will be from Rosh Chodesh, V'chad B'Chanukah, and the fourth one will be from Hanukkah. Whereas Rav Dimi Demin Haifa says, Amar Karu Tlasa B'Chanukah V'chad B'Rosh Chodesh. He says, no, the first three are from Hanukkah, not from Rosh Chodesh, and the fourth is from Rosh Chodesh. So Amar Rabbi Mani Kavasi Rabbi Yitzchak Nafcha Mistaber. It's logical to say like Rabbi Yitzchak Nafcha, because we have a principle, the Tadir Sheino Tadir Tadir Kodim. Rabbi Yitzchak Nafcha said the first three are from Rosh Chodesh, and that makes sense because we have a principle throughout the Talmud. Actually, we don't apply it in every situation, but as a baseline, we apply it, which says the Tadir Sheino Tadir, the more common and the less common, the more common comes first. Tadir Sheino Tadir Tadir Kodim. Rabbi Avin, so Rabbi Avin to a Kavasi Rav Dimi Mistaber. He says it's logical, like Rav Dimi, who says that Hanukkah is the first three and Rosh Chodesh is the fourth. Why? Because Migaram Ravi Sheyava. What's the reason why we read four? On Hanukkah we read three. What's the only reason that we read four? Is Rosh Chodesh. It's Rosh Chodesh. Hilkach Ravi Rosh Chodesh. Therefore, the fourth one should be from Rosh Chodesh. Hilkach Ravi Rosh Chodesh by Mikveh. The fourth one requires Rosh Chodesh. So my Havia, what was the conclusion? Do we read the first three aliyot from Hanukkah or from Rosh Chodesh? So is it like Rav Yitzchak or like Rav Dimi? So the Gemara says, Rav Yosef Amar, Rosh Chodesh. The main thing is not Rosh Chodesh, meaning the first three are like Rav Dimi, the first three are from Hanukkah, whereas Rabbah says, Hanukkah. Rabbah says, no, the first three are from Hanukkah. Rabbah says the first three are from Hanukkah, and this is like this is Hanukkah. The first three are from Rosh Chodesh, not like Rav Dimi, but like Rav Yitzchak. And the law is that we don't meaning the first three are from Rosh Chodesh, like Rabbi Yitzchak. The Rosh Chodesh Ikar, the Rosh Chodesh is the main thing. So it says the Gemara on the bottom of 29b, Idmar Chalios Bevatat Tetzaveh. We're talking about Parsha Shkolim. You know, there are four paragraphs, there are four special parashos we read. The first is Shkolim, right? And Shkolim is the passage we paskin, like the opinion in the Gemara, like Rav, that it comes from Kisisa. So it's the first few verses of Kisisa, which is the paragraph in Torah after Parshas Tetzaveh. So let's say Parshas Ve'atot Tetzaveh, let's say Parshas Shkolim comes out on Parshas Tetzaveh, which it sometimes does. So it says Rav Yitzchak Nafcha Karu Shisa Ve'atot Tetzaveh. The six, you read the first six aliyos on Shabbos from Tetzaveh. V'chad Mechisisa V'adasisa. And the seventh you read the Parsha Shkolim, you read as the seventh aliyah. They used to read it that way, according to this shita. They used to read they didn't read the Arbor Parshas as a maftir, but they read it as the seventh aliyah. So that's what he says. That's what Rabbi Yitzchak says. Amar Abaye, or on top of Lamed Amid Aleph, says Abaye, Amri Ukume, Hu Dekamukme Hasam. Abaye says people aren't going to realize that it's a special reading for Shkolim. They're just going to say that's how the parsha of the week is. That Tetzaveh ends where Parsha Shkolim ends. They are not going to realize it's Parsha Shkolim, and that's a problem because then they're not going to know that they have to bring the coins. They're not going to remember to bring the coins to the base of Mikdash. So therefore, El Amar Abaye Karushisa Miviatot Tetzaveh Ad Ve'asisa. So what Abaye said they should do is they should read the first six aliyos from Tetzaveh until through Shkolim, V'chad Tani V'kara Mechisisa V'adasisa. And then the seventh one should repeat Shkolim. So the first six read from Tetzaveh through Shkolim, and then we read Shkolim twice as a seventh aliyah. That's what Abaye says. So Rabbi Yitzchak says you read the sixth, and then the seventh is Shkolim. Abaye says you read 1 through 6 include Shkolim, and then 7 should be Shkolim again. Mm-hmm. So Meisaveh Gemara has a question. Gemara is going to challenge Rabbi Yitzchak Nafcha, because Chalios we have in the because we learned in the Brayta. So Chalios beParsha Smuchah. Let's say Shkolim comes on the week that's next to Parsha Shkolim, Bein Milfanah, Bein Ma'acharav, whether before or after. Korinosa, we read it. V'Kofanosa, and we read it again. So Bishlam Abaye Nicha makes sense according to Abaye, because Abaye says we read it twice. We read Shkolim twice. El Rabbi Yitzchak Nachman, Kash, according to Rabbi Yitzchak Nachman, it's difficult. He doesn't have you reading it twice. He just has you reading it once. So Rabbi Yitzchak Nachman says, no, it's not a question because he says, Abaye minicha, according to Abaye, it's the Bryce is still a problem. Why? The Bryce says you read it whether it comes before or after. Well, I understand how you're going to read it twice if it's Tetzaveh, but if it's Vayaka, which is the parsha after Kisisa, how are you going to read it twice? So it's Abaye, it doesn't work out either. So when it says kofla in Osa, it doesn't mean reading it twice at Shabbos. It means you read it 2 weeks in a row. That's what it means here. You read it 2 weeks in a row. That's all it means. Says the Gemara. Again, we're going to try and challenge. Rabbi Yitzchak's position. So the Gemara says, "Chalios b'chisisa atzma." Oh, so this is a different machokas. Let's say Parashat Shkolim comes actually on Kisisa. So you might not remember the last time this happened because it doesn't happen by our calendar. So maybe it'll happen in the future, but it has never happened. So Chalios b'chisisa atzma. So let's say Parashat Shkolim comes on Kisisa itself. So Rabbi Yitzchak Nachman says, "Karushisa min v'asisa ad vayakel." You do all the way from the beginning. You start from right after Shkolim, from Va'asisa, right after Parsha Shkolim, and you do the first 6 aliyos up until Vayakel. And then you go back to the beginning, and the 7th person reads the first aliyah, which is Shkolim. So that's what Rabbi Yitzchak says. Again, Abaye doesn't like it. People are going to say you're just reading the Torah out of order. It's also, it seems like Abaye is bothered by the same question. They're not going to read it shkal. They're not going to realize it's shkalim. They're just going to say you're reading the Torah out of order. So therefore, Amar Abaye, what does Abaye say? Abaye says what you should do is karushisa ad vayakel v'chad tani v'kari mi v'chisisa ad vasisa. So Abaye says what you should do is you should read the 6 aliyos up until Vayakel, and then you go back and read Michisisa Avasisa. Meaning to say you read everything. Abaye says you do it twice. You read from the beginning, not from Vasisa, but you read from Parashas Kisisa in the beginning, which is Shkalim, and then you read it again until the end. And indeed, Tanya Kavase de Abaye, we have a brayso that supports Abaye. Chalios b'chisisa atzma. We repeat it, and that's like what Abaye says, that if it comes on Parshas Kisisa itself, you read Kisisa and you repeat it. So now the next thing is Chalios b'soch HaShabbos. It said that if Rosh Chodesh either comes in the middle of the week, Makdimin l'Shabbos she'avra, we push it up to the Shabbos beforehand. We read Parshas Shkolim on the Shabbos before Rosh Chodesh Shkolim. Rosh Chodesh Adar. So the Gemara says, Idmar Rosh Chodesh Adar shechalios be'erev Shabbos. Let's say Rosh Chodesh Adar comes on a Friday. Well, then Rav says Makdimin u'Shmuel Amar Ma'achron. Rav says we read when it comes on a Friday, we read Parashat Shkolim the Shabbos before that Friday. Shmuel says Ma'achron. Shmuel says we read it the Shabbos after, the day after. Rav Amar Makdimin. Rav says we push it up to the Shabbos before, and the Imkain Batri Lehu Yomei Shochanos, because he says if we're going to read it the day after Rosh Chodesh, we have a problem. What's the reason why we read Shkolim? To tell everybody to give the money, because we could buy the new karbanos by Rosh Chodesh Nisan, and the money collectors would come the 15th day of Adar in the towns to collect it. But if we're going to push off the reading of Shkolim till a day after Rosh Chodesh, we're not going to have we're going to be missing a day from them coming out. You're going to have one less day to prepare. But Shmuel says Ma'achron. Shmuel says no, you can push it off. Why? In the end, when are they supposed to come? On day 15. But what's going to happen is the 15th day, Shmuel says, is going to come on a Friday then. But the problem is that the money collectors still won't come until Sunday. So therefore, we could push it off. They're not missing a day. Tanan, we learned Chalios b'soch HaShabbos. We want to see who's correct. We learned, let's say, is Rav correct that when Rosh Chodesh comes on a Friday, we push it up to the Shabbos before? Is Shmuel correct? It says we do it the next day. So it says Chalios b'soch HaShabbos, that when Rosh Chodesh Adar comes in the middle of the week, it said in our Mishnah, Makdimin l'sha'avar, we push up Parshas Shkolim to the previous Shabbos, Umafsika l'Shabbos acheres, and then the next Shabbos we don't read any of the four special paragraphs. My lab, doesn't this mean I feel B'Erev Shabbos? Doesn't mean even if Rosh Chodesh Adar comes on a Friday, we push it off, exactly like Rav says. Gemara says, no, lo b'soch Shabbos stop it. It says b'soch Shabbos means in the middle of the week. It means not on a Friday. Tashma, Ezu Shabbos Rishona. Again, another attempt to prove. What is the first week we read? The Parashat Shkom. Kol Shachal Rosh Chodesh Adar Uyos B'Socha. Whatever week has Rosh Chodesh Adar falling in it. V'afilu B'Erev Shabbos, even on a Friday. So doesn't that mean my love afilu B'Erev Shabbos? Dumya D'Socha. Doesn't mean Erev Shabbos is like if it comes out in the middle of the week. Ma'asocha Makdim. And just like if it comes out in the middle of the week, we read it on the Shabbos beforehand. Af Erev Shabbos Makdim. And so too, if it comes on a Friday, we read it to Shabbos beforehand. Amar Shmuel, no. Shmuel says to amend the text, read it as Ba. Meaning to say, Ezu Shabbos Rishona, Kol Shachal Rosh Chodesh Adar Ba. Anytime Rosh Chodesh Adar comes on it, meaning to say on that Shabbos or Friday. And also, that's how he also learns it. So the Gemara says, Kitanai. This dispute between Rav and Shmuel is Machokas Tanaim. Mesargel Shabbosos, Divi Rabbi Yehuda ben Nasi. Rabbi Yehuda ben Nasi says when we figure out the Arba Parashos, we're supposed to skip a week. Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar says a Mesargel. We don't skip a week. And I'm Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar. When do I say you don't skip a week? When Rosh Chodesh Adar comes on a Friday, because then we're going to read it the next day. But when it comes in the middle of the week, we read it from the previous week, even though it's Shvat. So we see Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar is like Shmuel, and Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, Rav is like Rabbi Yehuda Nasi. We say on the second Shabbos, we read Zachor. What do we read? On the second time we read Zachor. B'shniya Zachor. Idmar, Gemara, same question. Let's say 14th of Nisan comes on a Friday. Rav Amar Makdim in Parashat Zachor. Rav says we read Parashat Zachor the Shabbos beforehand, the 7th of Adar. Shmuel Amar. Well, no, that's not the 7th of Adar. The 7th of Adar would be if Purim came on Shabbos. So Purim is coming on Friday, so it's on the 6th of Adar. So that's when we read Zachor. Shmuel Amar Ma'achron. Shmuel says no, we read it the next day, which is the 15th of Adar. Rav Amar Makdimin. Rav says we read it the week beforehand, which is the 8th of Adar. So because we don't want to read it on the day after Purim, because then we're going to have the remembering of Amalek after we've already defeated them. So we don't want the Asiyah to come before the Zechira. Shmuel says no ma'achar, and Shmuel says we would read the Parashat Zachor on the 15th of Adar. Why? Since there are many walled cities that do it on the 15th day, Asiyah v'Zechira and they're coming simultaneously, and therefore it's okay. So who's correct? Is Rav correct that we read Zachor the Shabbos before Purim when Purim's on a Friday? Or is Shmuel correct we read the day after? So says the Gemara, let's try and bring a proof. Tanan b'shniya Zachor. So it says on the second Shabbos we read Zachor. V'haki mikla reish yarcha b'Shabbat. V'haki mikla reish yarcha b'Shabbos. When Rosh Chodesh Adar comes on a Shabbos, mikla Purim be'erev Shabbos. Then Purim is going to come on a Friday. When Rosh Chodesh Adar comes on a Shabbos, Purim is going to come on a Friday. The Katani b'shniya Zachor, and we say that still on the second one we read Zachor, which proves, so therefore this is going to prove like Rav that we read it to Shabbos prior to Purim, and not like Shmuel says that we would read it the next day. So the Gemara says, Amar Papa, my shniya lafsaka. No, the second one after the break. No, we would say like Shmuel, you would take a pause, and the one after that is Zachor. Tashma Ezu Shabbos Shniya. So again, the Gemara is going to try and bring another question on this. What is this second week? Ezu Shabbos Shniya. Kol Shachal Purim Lios B'Socha. When Purim comes in the middle of that week, then the Shabbos before you read Zachor. V'afilu b'erev Shabbos, even if Purim comes on a Friday. Ma'alav erev Shabbos Tumya D'Socha. Isn't Friday like when it comes in the middle of the week? Just like when it comes in the middle of the week, we read Zachor prior. So too, when it comes on a Friday, we read it beforehand. So Amar Shmuel, Ba. Shmuel says, no, when it says in the Brisa of Besocha, Ezu Shabbos Kol Shachal Purim Lios Besocha, it means Ba. Va'afilu B'Erev Shabbos. When Shabbos comes on Purim, that's when we would read Zachar. Even on a Friday, which is like Shmuel. So now the Gemara says another one. Chal Lios B'Shabbos Atzma. Let's say Rosh Chodesh. Let's say Chagos b'Shabbos Atzma. Let's say the 14th of Adar comes on Shabbos itself, which we can't have today either. So we can't have that nowadays either. But let's say that happened. Then Amar Rav Huna l'divrei hakol ein makdim, and then everybody says we don't read the Zachor the week before, but we read it on the Shabbos of Purim, because when we read it that way, then we're not going to be concerned that the Asiyah comes before the Zechir, because they're being read together. And also the walled cities will read it the next day. He says, no, it's still a dispute when you would do it. And in Renami, when Purim comes on Shabbos, read on the Shabbos beforehand, Parashas Zachar. Okay. So now we learn Tanur Rabbana, the Shlishis Paradima. The third Shabbos we read Paraduma. Tanur Rabbana Ezui Shabbos Shlishis. What's the third Shabbos? Kol Shesmuchol Purim Echarad. Whatever is the Shabbos right after Purim. Imar Rabbi Chama Bar Chanina Amar Shabbos Hasmuchol Rosh Chodesh Nisan. He said no. Whatever is the Shabbos before Rosh Chodesh Nisan. Well, pligi, but they're not actually arguing. How do you call Rosh Chodesh Nisan Shabbos? If Rosh Chodesh Nisan comes on a Shabbos, then we can read Parashas HaChodesh. So then the Shabbos before Rosh Chodesh Nisan is Para. And how the Ikla be'imtza Shabbos, but if Rosh Chodesh Nisan comes in the middle of Shabbos, then the Shabbos before that is Rosh Chodesh, is Parashas HaChodesh, and then Para is the Shabbos after Purim. The fourth Shabbos we read Parashas HaChodesh. Tanu Rabbanon, Adar Shachalios b'Shabbos, Koran Kisisa Umaftirim B'Yo Yada. When Rosh Chodesh Adar comes on Shabbos, Rosh Chodesh Adar comes on Shabbos, we read from Parashas Kisisa Umaftirin B'Yehoyada, and we read from the Haftorah of Yehoyada. So that is Parashas Shkolim, and the reason why we do the Haftorah of Yehoyada because that's talking about collecting Shkolim. Neizui Shabbos Rishona. What is the first Shabbos? With Shkolim. Kol Shachal Rosh Chodesh Adar Yos B'Socha. Any week where you have Rosh Chodesh Adar in the middle of that week. Rafilu Be'erev Shabbos, even on a Friday. So that's like Rav. B'Shniya, the second Shabbos is Zachar. Maftirim Be'Pekadati, and we read the Haftorah from Pekadati, which is from where Shaul hesitated and did not kill Agag, and Shmuel Navi had to kill him. Zui Shabbos Shnia, and Kol Shachal Purim Lios B'Socha, and this is the Ezui Shabbos Shnia. What is the second reading? Any week where Purim comes in that week, you read that the Shabbos before, and you read Zachar. A few B'Erev Shabbos, even if Purim comes on a Friday, again like Rav. The Shlishis is the Para Aduma. Shlishis is the red heifer. Maftirim is the Rakti Alechem from Ezekiel. I will pour upon you the water to purify you. The Ezui Shabbos Shlishis. What is the third Shabbos? Kol Shesmuchol Purim Me'achareha. Anything that comes as Shabbos after Purim. Then Shabbos after Purim. And what is Bervius? What is the fourth Shabbos? That's HaChodesh Hazeh. It's the Shabbos of Parashas HaChodesh. Umaftir and Komar Shemakim Barishon Be'achal Chodesh from Ezekiel. And the top of Lamanam of Ezui Shabbos Revius. When we read the fourth Shabbos, called Shachal Rosh Chodesh Nisan Lios B'Socha. Any week where you have Rosh Chodesh Nisan, the Shabbos beforehand, you read Parashas HaChodesh, Rafil B'Erev Shabbos, even if Rosh Chodesh on a Friday. Rashi gives us a mnemonic. It's a very, very long Rashi on the staff, gives us a way to remember how we calculate which Shabbos is which. And most people use a luach, but if you really want to follow what Rashi says, to just understand this Rashi says that all you need to remember is that tu bu dad uviu, meaning to say when Rosh Chodesh comes on a Shabbos, when Rosh Chodesh Adar comes on a Shabbos, then the week we're going to have the break is the 15th of Adar. when Rosh Chodesh Adar comes on a when Rosh Chodesh Adar comes on a when it comes on a Monday, then the week we're gonna then the Shabbos we're gonna have a break is the 6th of Adar. Rosh Chodesh Adar comes on a Wednesday on Dad, then the week we're gonna have a break is the 4th of Adar. And Ubiyu, when Rosh Chodesh Adar comes on a Friday, then we're gonna have 2 breaks. We're gonna have the break on Bet and the break on Yud Vav. We're gonna have the break on Monday and the break on the 16th day. That's what Rashi tells us. Says the Gemara, when it is the 5th Shabbos, then we go back to the normal manner. What does this mean? What does this mean, the normal manner? Amar Rabbi Yami, Amar Seder Parshios. Rabbi Yami says he goes back to the Seder Parshios. What does this mean? It goes back to the Seder Parshios, meaning to say that the first, while he was reading, this is not our practice today, but while he was reading, what do? We do the, we don't read the regular Parshas HaShavua, we read the Parshas of the Dalet Parshas. Whereas Rabbi Yirmiyah says, he says, no, you always read, you read the regular Parsha, but you do a different Haftorah. So after the Dalet Parshas are over, Rabbi Yami says you go back to reading the regular Parsha. Rabbi Yirmiyah says you go back to reading the regular Haftorah, but you're always reading the regular Parsha. So Amar Abaye Kavasa de Rabbi Yami Mistaver. Abaye says it's logical like Rabbi Yami, the Tanan, Makom Mafsikin, because we have in our Mishnah, it says you stop the regular reading for everything. So you stop for all these things, the regular reading. So Bishlam Laman Amar Seder Parashos Uchoser Hainudika Parashos Bechol. According to one who says that afterwards you go back to the regular reading, like Rabbi Ami, because during the week there's no Haftorah, so it's obviously that this is a reference to the regular Parashos. But and that you interrupt for when it's those days, you don't read the regular Torah reading. But according to Rav Yirmiyah, how can this verse refer to the Haftorahs? Haftorah b'chol me'ika. There's no Haftorahs during the week. So therefore, it's obviously when it says you change it, it's referring to the parsha, not to the Haftorah. V'idach, Rav Yirmiyah would say no. Hakadisa. Rav Yirmiyah would say no. Each one is it's mitatis. Where it applies, you say it's the parsha. And where it doesn't apply, you say it's the Haftorah. Says the Gemara. Why do we have a break on the fast days? Why don't we just read the regular Torah reading on the fast days? Gemara explains, the Gemara says, Likri mitzafa binyana diyoma. Why on the fast day don't we read in the morning about the inyana diyoma, meaning to say whatever's the parasha of the week, ubetanisa, and then the mincha betanisa, and then the mincha time we'll read from the fast day. Why do we have to read in the morning also the reading for the fast day? So the Gemara says as follows: Messiah Rav Huna. Maybe this is a support for the position of Rav Huna, which we learned about in Masechas Tanis. Rav Huna mitzafra kinufia. In the morning of a fast day, what do? The people of the town gather and they check themselves to see whether or not they have a sin, and they warn themselves not to do a sin. And there we don't have Torah reading in the morning because we don't want the people to come late. And so therefore, according to Rav Huna, on a fast day, we only read in the afternoon. And so therefore, according to this approach, according to this approach, the Parashas HaShavua would be pushed off. So this idea that we interrupt it supports Rav Huna. So Gemara says, Heichi Avdinan, what do we do? What do we do when we gather the people in the morning and on a fast day? So Amar Abaye mitzafra palga diyoma, from the morning until midday. We look at the town, we see what they're doing. Are they acting properly? Are they okay? We palga diyoma lapanya, from the half of the day until the evening. Riva diyoma, the first quarter, karo maftir. We read the Torah and we do have Torah. The riva diyoma bo rachman. In the second half, we do tefillos and we do tachnunim and we pray. So Shenemar, as it states in the book of Nehemiah, Vayikru b'sefer Torah Hashem Elokehem Revius Hayom Revius Misvadim Mishtachvim Hashem Elokehem. So they called out from the sefer of Torah of Hashem in the quarter of the day, and in the quarter of the day they confessed and they bowed down. So we see from here that that's how they do. The second quarter they're praying, and the first quarter they are reading the Torah. So the Gemara wants to know, but how do we know that that's in the afternoon? Maybe all that is in the morning. Maybe all that's in the morning. The Gemara says, no, don't say that. Because it says in the book of Ezra that Ezra said when he heard that they took the idolatrous women as their wives, it says in the book of Ezra, chapter 9, verse 4, they gathered unto me all those who were trembling to hear the word of God. I sat astonished, meaning to say everybody was trembling to keep the word of God, gathered to Ezra on account of the sins of the Jewish people who went up from the exile to fix this sin. And Ezra was sitting there silent and shocked from his tremendous pain until the time of Mincha. And in the afternoon, I got up from my fast. So we see that Ezra was fasting, and only from the time of Mincha onward was he mevakesh rachamim, was he seeking mercy. Okay, we'll stop here. Stop with the Mishnah. If anybody has any questions, happy to address them, of course.